On a roll call, please.
Commissioner Gandy?
Here.
Commissioner Sanchez?
Here.
Commissioner Butcher?
Here.
Commissioner Trujillo?
Here.
And Mayor Campos.
Here. Thank you. If you will join me in prayer, please. Heavenly Father, we want to thank you for allowing us together once again today. We ask that you bless those families, Lord, that still suffer a loss and mourn the 9/11 tragedy, and may you always be with them, Lord. We thank you for keeping our community safe. We ask you to be with the victims of Hurricanes Harvey, Irma, and Jose. So many communities are ravaged by disaster, and still our community is safe, Lord, so we thank you for that. We ask that you continue to guide us, Lord, in order to be good stewards of this community and the great people that live and work here. Be with our city staff as they continue to provide the best possible service to those that we serve and we're obliged to take care of. And finally, Lord, thank you for hearing our prayers and continuing to bless us as always, Lord. And we ask you in your Son, Jesus Christ's name, amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We salute the flag
of the state of New Mexico, the symbol of perfect friendship among united cultures.
Thank you. You guys almost got that down. And lip sync. Move your lips. All right. I'll entertain a motion for the approval of the agenda as submitted.
I make that motion.
Second.
All right. Any discussion? All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Motion carries. I'll entertain a motion for the consideration of the regular meeting minutes of August 28, 2017.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
We have a second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries. We'll go on into commissioners and staff reports, starting out with Mr. Duncan.
Commissioner and Mayor, just a report as far as we did award the 17th and Polk Street projects to Constructors Inc. and we met with them briefly last week on Polk Street project. We are meeting again Wednesday afternoon to finalize and draft up the contracts so we can get started on those projects.
Okay. Let me ask you this. Did you convey the concerns that Commissioner Trujillo brought forth to the table that day?
Yes, sir, we did.
What was the response to that?
Just that they were willing to work with us and we, in the time periods and everything that are allowed. And we did have a rough time sheet of the Polk Street project, which is an 80-day project, but they stressed to us that it would not take the full 80 days, but they wanted to allow time for rain or anything that they did have.
Okay. Hope that happens.
Thank you, Wyatt.
Yes, sir.
All right. Anything else, Wyatt?
No, sir.
All right. Gary.
Hi, your Mayor and Commission. I have nothing new to report today.
All right. Very good. Miss Joanna.
Nothing to report, sir.
All right. Miss Anna.
Nothing to report.
Very good. Commissioner.
I have nothing to report.
All right. Commissioner.
I have nothing at this time.
All right, very good. James, I just had a quick, you might, we're going to talk about this, but can you tell us about what was taking place at the Chaparral Park this weekend? I think you posted a picture of it.
Oh, I had to think there for a minute. Yes, Mayor Commissioners, we had our volunteers who are helping to design and implement our disc golf course. We had our volunteers out there actually installing the tee pads. They managed to get 6 of them done. And there's plans to do additional tee pads this weekend as well.
I think I saw Crystal out there as well, right?
Yes,
you were out there,
actually,
right,
Crystal has been is our staff person who's in charge of that project as well as a player.
Okay. Thank you for that, Crystal. All right, very good. Okay, that's all I had. Commissioner Trujillo?
I'm good. Thank you.
Commissioner Gandy?
What about my tongue? I don't have anything.
Okay. Chief Rodriguez? Chief Lizardo?
Just want to say thank you to the community for the food that was given to us for the 9/11 today. I really appreciate that on behalf of the department.
Very good. Thank you for y'all's service. Not just today, but every day. All right. James?
Mayor Commissioners, in addition to the work that happened at Chaparral Park this weekend, we did have our free dump day. They did receive 175 loads of various types of garbage and appliances on Saturday. So thankfully, we have plenty of help out there with our city staff. We also, on this Thursday, city offices will be closed for the staff in service, but also a reminder that at 6:45 that night at Chaparral Park, we'll have our first movie at the park, absolutely free. We have a couple of vendors out there who will be selling refreshments. They will have to pay for those, but we've invited the vendors out there to participate just to try to draw a crowd out. In addition to that, we do have a planning and zoning meeting tomorrow, and we're discussing what we call conditional use permits. One method that we discussed at the last meeting to address the non-conforming structures and land use. One method that has been potentially identified. The entire commission is invited to attend. We did place a notice of potential quorum, so we don't have to worry about any Open Meeting Act violations, but that meeting is at 4 p.m. here at City Hall tomorrow. And that's all I have, sir.
All right, thanks, sir. Patrick?
Nothing to report, sir.
All right, thanks, sir. All right, we'll go on into public comment. Anybody that wishes to address the commission may do so at this time. If you'll keep your comments to about 3 minutes after you identify yourself, you're more than welcome to step up.
Good afternoon, Mayor and City Commissioners. I'm here because we are going to be collaborating with the Lovington EDC to host the first annual October Fiesta. And normally we do our street closure just with you guys. However, we are requesting to actually close Main Street, which is a state highway. And in order to do so, I have to have approval from our local governing board. So we were wondering if it would be possible. We will still be submitting a street closure with the city like we normally do. It's just I'm kind of on a time crunch and have to have this submitted 30 days prior to the event itself, which will be hosted on October 21st. So we would like to ask for permission. I have if I may step forward, I have a copy of the map that we will be looking at. So what we will be proposing is closing the block in front of the courthouse. That's the Main Street portion that we will be closing. We have to submit a certificate of liability insurance, which we do have. We will also have one for the city and the county, as well as for Lovington EDC. We will be doing it out of the Main Street insurance. And then there's an application, and we have to propose a detour. The detour would be on Avenue A. East, so you would turn left once you got to right on Avenue A, and then got onto Love Street, and then all the way down until Adams. I'm sorry, until Adams, and then you would return back to Main Street. We've been told that it's not unlikely that we will get approval. We just have to have everyone on board for that.
All right. Any questions from the commission?
How long are we, I guess I missed it a while ago, but how long are you proposing we need this closed?
Just one day, and it'll be a Saturday when there's not a lot of traffic in the area, and it'll be Saturday morning from 9 a.m. till midnight on October 21st.
Yes, James.
Yes, Mayor, Commissioners. Mara had approached me last week after we had already set the agenda for this meeting. DOT requires a 30-day review for their permits. So what would be acceptable is if the commission would like to just give some type of direction or tentative approval, we would still run this through our city commission meeting. However, our next meeting is not till the 25th, and the permit wouldn't be considered for review by DOT in time for the event. So if there's no objections from the commission, we can draft a letter saying that we do support this application. We'll be running it through our normal process, but don't anticipate any denials.
Any comments or concerns from the commission? Any direction?
Why Main Street?
Honestly, it's all about location when it comes to events, and after this last time when we saw that closing or having the stop sign on Main Street, that really made people stop and actually look at what's going on. And the second thing is because once the judicial complex is finalized, we're not going to have access to a lot of the areas we used to have access to. So we're kind of using this as a test trial for future events.
I'm not crazy about it.
Anybody else? Commissioner Butcher, what do you think?
I'm not really crazy about it either, but, I mean, you know, we're gonna need it.
Does anybody care to comment regarding this issue at this time?
There's no other routes that have been probably laid out or looked at, or?
If this doesn't get approved by you guys, we would just return to our usual route and try to see which way we can expand. As you know, the East Washington is out because that street's completely torn up. And once the judicial complex is built, that's where they're gonna, one side's gonna be where they're gonna be bringing in the detainees and then going underground to the other side. So the county has asked that we refrain from using that area. That includes the Love Street in between the courthouse and the judicial complex. So that pushes us to expand towards the police department, which that's more of a liability, as we've seen with them being able to leave and come as they would like.
And I'll say, I'm just as my part of it, that is a truck route. They use it downtown. It is going to create a lot of issues. It is from 9 to midnight. The traffic is going to be backed up in the residential areas.
Yeah.
So use caution.
I see that as well. Commissioner Hill?
No, I think at least ought to give it a shot. You know me, I'm always about trying something new. Give it a shot, find out how it goes. You never know, we might have to tweak it one day when the complex is being remodeled for some reason, or somewhere soon down the road when the complex is on its finishing stage. There's another project that I've been working on also as well on that same street, and I feel that we may still have to do this more than once, so let's go ahead and tweak it, and maybe just as a backup or something like that. But like I said, I'm always looking for something different. I mean, heck, we always go down the same beaten path, and it ends up nowhere. So let's try something new. Let's try to figure it out. I mean, other communities do it. So, I mean, look at, for instance, our neighbor right here, Plains. They shut down that whole highway for their little festival. I mean, why can't we do that for a year? Why can't we accommodate our local citizens on some of their programs and do it? I mean, they, like I said, that has more traffic than we got, probably most likely. So, and they just shut that down last weekend. Mm-hmm. So, if they can do it, we sure can do it as well.
Patrick, what do you see?
Well, I guess the hard part, considering what the council's talked about so far, given some of their opinions, chief of police, you know, it's obviously not an agenda item that we can vote on and give an official thumbs up or thumbs down. I guess the safest way for the city to proceed would be to take into consideration comments, if anybody from the public has a comment, and then let Mara decide, you know, what her opinion would be if it came up for official vote, and let the state know and see what happens from there. So.
Let's do this. Have your plan A and your plan B both ready. Mara, I appreciate you coming, and I wish we would have had a little more time. And then, yes, sir, go ahead.
I have one more question. Now, you made the comment that the stop signs that we used them last time. So what would be against redoing stop signs again on the main? You know, like getting our flashing, our red lights.
We're down.
You know, we could accidentally just break again, but you know, I mean, what harm would that cause, or is that just still not trying to achieve what you're wanting to do?
No, just because, like I said earlier, we're trying to figure out how we're going to map stuff out for smoking on the plaza next year. And honestly, the location and how we're gonna spread out, as you've seen, you know, we had 48 contestants last year, or this last year that just passed, and then 20 vendors. It gets to be a really big event, and to avoid, you know, going so much into residential areas, we're trying to come out a little bit. We don't, honestly, if you write a letter right now saying that it's okay, DOT might kick it back, because once they receive the letter, they actually do a survey analysis on it to see if it's going to be any safety hazards or anything like that, and they might just tell me no. And if they do, then we will actually return back to Central, Love, and Avenue A. We're kind of testing the waters to try something different. We've seen that it has worked in other communities like Plains, which that one gets a lot more traffic than we do on a Saturday. I would definitely understand if it was a Friday or a Monday when everyone's coming through really heavily, but on a Saturday, downtown kind of dead.
Right.
So that's part of the reason.
And what was the county's issue with Love Street or whatever, going that direction, or?
The issue is that once the judicial complex is built, they don't want food trucks around that can possibly dump grease on their nicely new lawn, which is understandable. They're spending a lot of money on that place. And the other thing that they're concerned about is that the only handicapped access on the courthouse is on Central Street. So for next year, they might not even allow us to use Central, Washington, and Love. And by that I mean the back end of Washington and Love. So the area in between the courthouse, Washington on that end, Love, or Central the whole way, just because of some of the issues that they've heard from the citizens. So we're trying to explore new options on that.
This would have been nice to know before we went on.
Yes, Commissioner.
So you do this every year, right?
Not this one. This is the first time. It's we're working on starting to make more collaborations with other entities. So Lovington, EDC, and us will be taking this project on together.
You're going to be bringing money into Lovington?
Hopefully, yes. We're going to be bringing 4 concerts, 2 of them which are going to be Texas country and 2 of which are going to be Spanish. And we're going to be alternating, so that way the community has to join together and stay here the whole night to be able to enjoy the music.
So the complex won't be built for at least another year, probably. So you could do it this year.
We've already had issues. We weren't allowed to do smoking on the plaza out here because of it. That's why we had to move to the fairgrounds this year. That's because the expansion of the, how big it really does get. So.
What do we do this? What do we advise you to go ahead and proceed with both plans, have both plans in place? Obviously, we can't, you know, make a decision because it's not an action item today, which I wish we would have had a little more time. But we would look at drafting a letter and advising our tentative approval pending on the this coming before us as an action item at the next meeting. So, and also pending on what DOT advises you as well.
Okay.
Can we do that?
Yes, that's what we were hoping for.
Okay.
Thank you.
Everybody okay with that? Okay. All right, very good.
I just was gonna say, I was like Patrick said a while ago, you know, any public comments out there from you citizens, or what do any of y'all think about that? I know y'all not shy, because.
All right, I will tell you, I'm Paula Van Cleve, and I'm just gonna speak because we had a trucking company. Kind of on both sides. I don't care if it's 10 o'clock at night, you're gonna have trucks coming down. And then you've got them trying to find a detour in the dark.
Right.
But I'm a little cranked about the county being so snippy about what we can and cannot do around here. So maybe we need to get with the county and see about, hey, you know, this is our community and we want to have smoking on the plaza and we want to have these, and they can't just limit us. What are we going to do, push it that way?
Well, if I remember during some of the pre-discussion of the courthouse, and the reason the parking lot was in between was for that.
Exactly.
So actually, because the city already had in place, you know, Central Plaza idea and all different things.
And we've done all of this over here, so it can be closed off. So I think we need to push back at the county that we still be allowed. But I'm concerned about trucks late at night trying to find their way around a closure Have you seen how they come through here in broad daylight?
Mhm.
Just wait till after dark. It's gonna be too late to stop.
What the chief mentioned is also a concern of mine as far as the traffic flow and safety and so forth, so that's why I'm kind of hesitant as well. Yes, sir.
And one of the concerns I have, you need to get with the county too.
Your name, please, sir?
Ron Price.
All right, thank you, Mr. Price.
Need to get with the county too to find out if they're gonna have any ditches dug across Low Street or anything else, because it's already like driving across a pasture going down Low Street. And anybody knows on these 18-wheelers, when you turn corners and stuff, you dig up blacktop. And when we only got a half-inch of blacktop on these side streets, you're gonna tear them up. So that may be something else we wanna look at.
All right, thanks, sir.
If I may, Mayor Campos, one of the things that we had also looked at was doing the detour and trying to push them towards the bypass, which would be able to be a little bit more helpful because there's an actual stoplight there that will help direct traffic towards the bypass on Commercial. And then that way they can just go completely around and go back out that way. And even if we only did it up to Avenue A, like I'm proposing right now, we would still have signage and barriers that would direct traffic in which area. So it wouldn't just be, oh, there's a street closed, we have nowhere to go now. There has to be signage in order for DOT to even consider it.
Yeah, I would recommend also just having it right there at Avenue D, the detour, start there and then veer it off east back towards the central, or Commercial, I'm sorry. And then get it out of the way right there. That way they're not right there like Ms. Van Cleer said, you get too close to that intersection, it's too tight. So if we started right there at Avenue D and have them veer, they're most likely headed east anyway, so they can take the detour back towards Commercial and then back left towards Plains Highway or Tatum Highway. That'd be the best thing because they're already at the stoplight and it's wide enough for the turn. That's what I would recommend.
All right. Anybody else?
Okay, so me and the chief were discussing what Commissioner Peter was talking. Because of the turning radiuses and the way people would park and where we end up parking in different areas, you really don't want them turning back to the west to go to First Street because of the turning radiuses and the length of the trucks and different things like that. You could have them go back to Love Street, but then you still have an issue with that because you would have to actually come all the way back to Avenue D and stop the truck traffic before it got past Avenue D. So, and you don't know if that's actually
it's problematic.
Legal. So,
You could, but most likely you can do a truck detour right there at Avenue D. You don't have to necessarily stop the truck, but you can put on the truck detour, put a signage right there, east.
Let's think about it and we'll gather our thoughts and present what we have on that day. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I have one comment I would like to make about, I guess to clarify any objections the county may have about the normal configuration for the downtown events. One of the driving reasons, especially with Smoking on the Plaza, was the parking lot that was being used to house some of the competitors for that large event. Well, of course, the new judicial complex is sitting on there, and that parking lot is not available. It's not that the county doesn't want us to have the events downtown. They do want us to have those events downtown. It's just with the complication with the construction and making sure that the site remains safe, they're just preferring that we move it elsewhere for the time being. It's not, I just want to stress that the county is not against us having events downtown. They just want to work with us. So I don't want that to,
right.
The city and the county are getting along rather well, and I don't want this to be taken out of context.
I agree.
The wording sounded that way, so. Yeah. Just.
Well, and they actually approved, I have Mike's signature for the street closure if we were to do it on Main and Central.
All right.
Stay next to let it go.
Yeah, it's always easy to find fault in anything.
The chief will.
That's right, look at the positive side of it and move forward.
Just have both plans ready. How's that? Okay. All right.
Thank you.
If I may,
Sure.
just for clarification.
Sure.
So there will be a letter drafted that I can include with this, and then we'll see what DOT even says, and then we'll go from there.
The letter will reflect that we're providing you with tentative approval pending the meeting we'll have on that day. But we'll give you a tentative approval at this point.
Okay.
But pending some other things, one on what the DOT said as well.
Okay.
Okay?
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Mike. Okay, anybody else for public comment regarding any other subject? Just about. Nobody? All right. Seeing as there's none, we'll continue on into non-action items. Discussion of conflict of interest policy. James.
Yes. Mayor and Commissioners, what I provided to each of you, hard copy, is the New Mexico Governmental Conduct Act. This can actually be found on the State of New Mexico Attorney General's website. This is actually state law. Just to kind of run through it, NMSA 1978 Chapter 10, they actually enacted this back in 1967. It's gone through several amendments, but it wasn't until the 2011 amendment that they actually included all political subdivisions, which includes county and local governments. Prior to that, it was only state elected officials and state employees who had to comply. However, they did change that. And the whole purpose behind it is just to operate state and local government with honesty, transparency, that we're making sure that we always place the public interest and the taxpayer's interest first. So that way, being in an elected office or appointed office in government, that you're not doing that for your own benefit. So one thing that's covered is that identify what is improper influence. Talks about, I guess, gratuities or gifts specifically to address financial service companies. They want to make sure that we totally avoid anybody who invests the city's money. It can't be constituted as, we're going to provide you this in exchange for your business. Also ensuring that each individual knows that the public interest prevails over our own private interests. It also talks about private business within the work environment. If you own a particular company that sells a product, to make sure that you're not doing that on official government time or using your position to contract with public employees or anything else like that. Also, any of the information that you receive in the course of your business as either an elected official or a city employee, you can't abuse your access to some of those confidential or sensitive documents that you have exposure to. It also talks about outside employment and making sure that there's no conflict of interest between what we do here as a government body. And then talks about former public employees, prohibited public activities, as well as enforcement fines. Violation of this can actually be a 4th-degree felony per state law. One of the things that we did include in your packet, of course, the City of Hobbs did adopt a policy, and it mirrors what state law says. But whenever you implement this, if you look at this, each statewide executive branch has to adopt their own conflict of interest policy. Of course, the head of every executive agency, and this is taken straight out of the law, that they draft these code of conduct policies, and it's reviewed every 4 years. One of the things, I guess you would say that this is actually found on page 39 of this printed out document, is that the Attorney General says that nothing in this act says that we can't make a more stringent policy. However, it does also say that we're not required to adopt the codes as a local government. It's encouraged that you should, but we're not actually required to adopt our own policy. We could, if you wanted to, just adopt this by reference. I mean, it is law. Well, we do have to comply with state law. However, I guess at this point, I know the state auditor, I guess, had in his class, he has said that, no, you do need to have one. I'm kind of taking that as a direction, maybe, that they're looking at. But there is nothing in here that doesn't say that we can't be more relaxed on it, but we can make it a little bit, or a lot more as rigid and strict as we would like. So the only thing that I guess we are asking is, what is the thoughts of the commission, and do you want to direct staff to present an ordinance to adopt either this as it stands, or do we want to adopt something that is actually more rigid?
I looked it over, James, and I guess my viewpoint is if the state auditor's office approved their version, then I don't see any problem with it. I think we should adopt the resolution as well, but that's open to discussion.
Yeah, I agree with Mr. Compton said. I think we'll just stick with what they got. I mean, they approved it, heck, they got more resources than we got, so. I think it's good as it stands, just implement that as part of ours.
I'm sorry?
Are you talking about the Hobbs?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Everybody okay with that? You guys all right with that?
I think if Hobbs approved it, that's as close as we can get to it.
Well, the state auditor's office
And they
approved
did
it.
too, yeah.
Yeah. So, you have direction there?
Yes, sir.
James? All right, very good. And speaking of which, and I visited with James about this and Patrick as well, and in order to maintain transparency, that's what I want to do today. I've been offered a job with Lovington Trails, and I've accepted that job as a manager of their complex. It was offered through some folks, and the owner actually lives in El Paso. Long story short, I don't even think I was on the commission when that was built. Was that, James?
No, I don't believe you were.
Okay. So I had no decision-making abilities regarding that project, and it was, of course, you guys know there was a story in the newspaper this week about the contractor being arrested for embezzling $400 and some odd thousand of monies regarding that facility. So, anyways, I just want to be transparent. Like I said, I visited with these gentlemen, and they said that they didn't appear to be or had an appearance of any conflict of interest. But I just want to be forthright with you. And if you guys have any issues, then please, contact me, communicate me. But I can assure you that there will be no conflict, and this is a great time to voice this regarding this policy as well. All right. Anything else? Thank you. All right. Going on into action items. I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion to consider resolution 2017-93, certification of fixed assets list. Second.
Who's the second? Okay, Mr. Water. All right, James or Gary?
Your mayor and commission, this is a standard annual requirement for our auditors to bring to you our list of fixed assets, and then of course ask for your certification that I need to submit with this list to the auditors. I didn't bring my list of items that were added or deleted from the list. However, there's nothing unusual or out of place as far as what we have. Some of the big things that were added were, like, for example, the Chaparral Park irrigation system. And then we have some stuff that's work in progress, like 17th Street, and some more of the work related to the Lovington trails and things like that. We're obligated to report even small expenditures on those and let it be known that there are future assets pending.
Are we in complete compliance, Gary, with the auditors, state auditor, regarding this, the fixed assets now?
Yes, we are.
All right, very good. Thank you for that.
I'm very thankful to say that. Yes, we are.
I'm thankful to hear that. Any other questions or comments from the commission? All right. All in favor of approving the resolution, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries. Is there another motion?
I consider resolution 217-98 awarded bid for MRA plan update. Second that.
All right, James.
Yeah, Mayor and Commissioners, this resolution, we actually received or advertised an RFP for our MRA plan update, which is the Metropolitan Redevelopment Area. This as part of the Main Street program. One of the things that we are doing is we are expanding that area, and what the MRA does is it helps us to address what they call slum and blight, but it also gives us additional tools for economic development and development of those properties into businesses. This is actually being paid for through the New Mexico Finance Authority grant. We received 3 responses, one from ARC Planning, Site Southwest, and then consensus planning. The RFP was reviewed and scored by city staff as well as Main Street staff, and the RFP results were that the recommendation is to award this project to consensus planning. It just so happens that they did provide us with the initial MRA plan as well.
All right. Questions? Everybody good? All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries. Do we have another motion?
Make a motion, we consider resolution 2017-99, approval of transfer of dispenser type liquor license application, Bob's Thriftway.
Second.
We have a second. All right. James?
Mayor and Commissioners, this is considered to be the public hearing. Bob's has submitted changes to their liquor license as far as president of the corporation that it's under, and this is it requires local governing body approval. This is the hearing that has been duly advertised as required by law.
All right.
It does not change their operations.
What kind of change are you trying to make?
There's been some changes in the corporate as far as with
change of name.
Change
president,
of
right?
the president with Kent passing away in the name of the president.
So there,
Yes, sir.
well, it's all in the family, I guess.
Well, the people are already there. It's just making the change according to the present status. Right, James?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Any questions, comments? All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Motion carries. Do we have another motion?
I make a motion we consider resolution 217-100, appointment of library board member.
Do we have a second?
Have anybody in mind?
Says Linda.
Oh, okay. Before you make that, yeah.
Do we have any recommendations?
On the water says
Linda, oh, just under Linda.
You want to include that in your motion,
Okay.
Commissioner?
I make a motion to appoint Linda Luker by resolution 217-100. Second that.
We have a second. All right. James?
Mayor and Commissioners, this board is unique is that when they do have a vacancy, of course, Karen Dickens has served on the board for many years but has moved. So what the board is required to do is to submit 3 names to the City Commission for consideration. One thing that they do is their board did meet on the 30th to review those individuals who expressed interest, and they recommended that this body appoint Linda Luker.
All right. Any questions? All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Resolution carries. Do we have another motion?
Make a motion, we consider resolution 2017-101, authority to execute professional services agreement between the city and Pettigrew and Associates for water wells project.
Do we have a second? All right. We have a second. James?
Mayor and Commissioners, we originally entered into an agreement with Pettigrew and Associates to drill additional water wells in our well field. This is being funded through a capital outlay appropriation. This project has run into several different issues. We did go out to bid, and New Mexico Environment Department didn't. There were some issues with the bid that they did not really care for. They wanted us to go back out and change some of the designs as well as some of the bid language. Unfortunately, our existing contract with Pettigrew expired on June 30th, and in order for us to remain eligible for the grant funding and to finish out that project, we do need to enter into another agreement that would expire on June 30th of 2018 for the bidding and then also construction management for that particular project. This resolution, the agreement, after consulting with NMEV or the Environment Department, they said that this would fall under sole source procurement. We have posted this on the state website known as the Sunshine Portal. As required by not only our procurement policy but also state procurement code. We haven't received any comments on this, and that 30 days will elapse on the 23rd of this month. And due to the timing, The agreement will just essentially stay identical to the one that we had. However, we won't be billed for the services that are already completed. And this will give me the authority to execute that agreement on the 23rd.
All right. Any discussion? All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. I'll entertain another motion.
I'd like to make a motion to consider resolution 2102, condemnation of property 123 West Avenue C.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
can we group the next 6 together? Because they're all condemnations on all properties.
As a consent agenda? No?
I don't think that would be such a good idea. I'd like to certainly save time, but I think each one has perhaps its own unique
All right, very
set
good.
of circumstances.
All right.
So-
Thank you, Patrick.
Second.
Okay, we have a second. James.
Actually, Mayor and Commissioners, I'm going to let Laura kind of review the history behind some of these properties.
Okay.
Laura Brock, City of Lovington Animal Code Enforcement.
123 Avenue C, y'all have seen previously before. That's the one that's located behind the dollar store. The property has recently been sold. We've worked on this several times trying to get it cleaned up. And we have located the new owners recently, and I also sent them notification. This property is not being kept up with though, and it is a safety and health hazard. There's many ways to get into it. The floor is falling apart. Windows are open. It is truly a hazard to our community. Oops. Is that the same one?
No.
Okay.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
So the people that own it, do they still own it, the ones that got it?
The ones who originally had it the first time that we had started this, no, they do not.
But
It is a new owner, correct?
So is
They
that-
are receiving
So is he gonna
notification.
tear it down?
I'm not sure what they're going to do. They haven't contacted us.
James.
Mayor and Commissioners, the way this will work is that we adopt this resolution tonight. A copy of this resolution is submitted to the owner. It's also posted on the actual property. And they have 10 days to start cleanup of that property and also present code enforcement with the plan as far as how they're going to correct the issues with that particular property. That would take review by code enforcement staff. So once that's determined, now if they don't in 10 days contact us, begin cleanup, provide us with that particular plan, the city goes in and can remove the hazard. Basically demo the property, clean that property up. We do have staff who actually are licensed by the state to perform the demolition activity. We would, of course, have to test all of these structures for asbestos and any other type of hazards and remedy that as well. At that point, once the property is cleaned up, we send an invoice to the owners who actually we file a lien on that particular property. The owners have so long to file a lien if they are to pay off that lien, and if they don't, then we foreclose on the property. Which at that point, our only recourse to recoup the funds is to turn around and sell that particular property. It can be lengthy, a fairly lengthy process. And we're looking at, if we find no asbestos, it's going to cost the city between $10,000 to $15,000 per property to clean it up, because we have to haul all of that debris down to the landfill. And I know Patrick and I had looked at the properties today, and of course we'd have to consult with the chief, but really there's only one property that we potentially could do a controlled burn on to reduce the tonnage that we would be turning in down at the landfill. But that's how our process works. So the owners would still be given the 10 days to start cleanup on that property, but a key component of that is you just don't go over there and remove a couple of boards. I mean, we have to have a plan with deadlines that you're going to adhere to, or else we proceed with that condemnation process.
Good, that's in my district, I want it out there.
So James, let me ask you this. So once the city makes the decision to demolish, Once that is completed, do we not have to send the owners an invoice for the work? And then if they don't respond, then we file the lien of the property? Or how does that work?
Yeah, normally, that's the process. What you characteristically see is that if they're not gonna make repairs, if they're not taking other steps to do something to increase the value of the property or not have an effect on the neighbors, that's not something that we normally see occurs. And so that is part of the process. We generally don't see that happening, that they're gonna cough up any money because we just raise their house for them. And so the problem that you run into is a lot of times that cost may exceed maybe what that bare lot is worth. So we just don't get anything from that particular home.
Yeah, I didn't figure we would. I was just wondering if that was a requirement on our part.
Right.
As part of the process. So is that yes?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I was just curious. All right, very good. Thank you.
Don't expect any results from it, but yes.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll get results out of it. It just might not be any monetary results, I guess. All right. Very good. Anybody else?
Well, I was noticing you said only one out of the whole lot could be considered a controlled burn. Is that due to the asbestos being in the rest of those homes, or why? What's the procedure? Would it be cheaper to burn?
Mayor Commissioner, is proximity to adjacent structures. That's the main, and actually of all of the, that one particular property that I mentioned we could probably burn, it's surely, it has asbestos, I'm fairly confident. And if we do find that asbestos, we have to hire a company to come in to dispose of that. The last property that we ran into an issue with asbestos, it added another $4,000 onto the price tag to demolish that home. That's just, it's hazardous material, it's hazardous waste. So I just wanted to let the commission and the public know that, I mean, yes, we're cleaning up, but it's coming at a considerable cost to the city and the taxpayer.
It's a process.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
I
sir.
got one question on that. If it does have asbestos, do you have to go to Mountaineer to take it over there, or, because you can't dump, I don't think you can put it here at the city dump.
No, Mayor Commissioners, we actually hire a third-party contractor to remove it. We only have staff who are licensed to identify it. If they find material, then we send that to a lab for confirmation. But we have to hire a third-party contractor to actually abate the asbestos before we can even start the demolition.
And the funding for this is coming out of what fund?
The general fund, sir.
Do we have the money for all these demolitions?
Yes, however, we will tap into our reserve. Honestly, Mayor Commissioners, we're probably easily looking at $90,000.
How much of a percentage will that dip into our reserves? We're at 27 right now, correct?
Mayor Commissioners, we would still stay above 20%. It may drop us down to 20, maybe 25.
That's what I
Well,
would estimate too.
That's a concern for me. That's a lot of money. What do you guys think about that?
Chair. I think it's a lot of money too.
Yeah. Laura, do you have something to add to that? No? My concern, of course, are the properties, but my concern as well is the money that's going to cost to
But I think.
demolish these properties.
Excuse me, Mr.
Yes.
But the thing about these projects is our returns. So we are gonna have a return on it. If we demolish it, we get we put a lien of 15,000. If we don't get our money back, then we sell the property and get our 15,000. So we're not just gonna throw $100,000 away, we're gonna get our money back. That's where I look at it. It's not like, we're dipping into our funds, but we're gonna release 100, we're expecting 100. It might not come back overnight, but it's a project that is needed, and I feel that we need to move forward with it, but we will get a return on it.
I don't know if we get a whole 100% back, but if we got 60% or so back, it'd be great.
Well, we gotta clean up our districts, that's for sure.
James, you have something?
Well, Mayor, Commissioners, there is one way. I mean, with the foreclosing, and when we turn around, we sell that property, we would actually make sure that we put the minimum, a minimum bid on there, to make sure that we recoup our cost at least. I mean, we could look at doing an appraisal on that property, but since we made an investment to clean that up, if it cost us $15,000 to clean up that property, that would be a minimum bid on that particular lot.
The last time I checked, lots were going for about 25,000, so if it costs 15, I guarantee we'll have a profit, which we're not in the business to profit.
We can make a profit. There's nothing wrong with making a profit.
Yeah, there is.
We're a non-profit, but we make money. That's my only concern.
Mayor, there is a mechanism for us to recoup.
Yes, I
Some
understand.
of that fund. So but as it was said, it won't happen overnight. So there is a positive side, but we are looking at an upfront initial investment to clean this up.
Yes, sir.
James, how long does this process typically take?
We're looking at October. After we do the testing, after the 10 days, once the 10 days has gone by, if we have not heard from any of the homeowners and they have not contacted us, then we will start the testing process. Crystal and I will start the testing process. We'll go in, we'll test all the properties at one time. So that way we can send off for mass testing. If any of them come back hot, then we'll have to wait and we'll have to schedule abatement. If they do not come back hot, then we can get with Wyatt and his departments to find out how soon they can start. With the whole process, we're thinking around October is when we're going to actually be able to move forward, depending on what Wyatt's department has plans for and has time for.
So the overall project would last, what, 8 months? If, let's just say hypothetically, all these were condemned, this project a month, possibly?
Possibly.
So it would be strung out over a year, so it would be one initial hit of $100,000 up front, we'd taper to the year.
Correct.
All right. Okay, any other questions? Comments? All right. All in favor of approval, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that resolution carries. Do I have another motion?
Make a motion, we consider resolution 2017-103, condemnation of property 203 West Avenue L.
Second?
We have a second, James. Laura?
Mayor, Commissioners, 203 West Avenue L is a property that burned a few years ago. There was a house fire in here. We have abated the property once, cleaning up the weeds and stuff. It is back to the weeds being high again. No progress has been made. At the last time I brought this, guys, to you, there was some leads on how to get a hold of the family. Got a hold of the family, however, the ones that were living there, but the people who actually own the property never did contact me. So I've been unsuccessful on trying to make contact to come up with a game plan on how to solve this issue. This is the inside of the house. As you can see, the roof is gone. There's a bunch of debris. Y'all have any questions on that one?
No, I don't. How about you guys? How quickly, if we approve of these, how quickly will we see a cleanup? Laura, let me ask you that. I know it's kind of a broad question.
Hopefully pretty quickly. So 10 days, then we'll do our testing, takes about a week. So if a house came back that had negative on the asbestos, then Wyatt and his crew, as soon as they're available, we could start within a month.
Okay. Very good.
Well, there is some process as far as notice to owners.
Right.
Sometimes those owners are easy to track down, sometimes there's not. So from the standpoint of complying with condemnation procedure, sometimes it takes a little bit longer, give or take, tracking down an owner. But there are some notice requirements and an opportunity for the owner to come back into council and a number of other things. So it's not just the efficiency, the ability of the city to actually get to that project.
Right. Okay, very good. Thank you, Patrick. All right. Any questions? All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that resolution carries. Do we have another motion?
I'll make a motion we consider resolution 217-104, condemnation of property, 422 North Chavez Street.
I'll second that.
We have a second. Laura?
Mayor, Commissioners. 422 North Chavis Street is also one that you have seen previously. This one I brought to commission previously in the process. The reason why we're having to start over is the owner is deceased, right when we had started to finalize the end of getting this property condemned. And so we have to start the process at the beginning again. This property, the back door is open, the trees have fallen down. The electric company did remove the power to the house because one of the trees on the side of the house caught the power, also the phone lines. Sorry, too fast. There you go. Also on that property, if you noticed on that other one, this clicker is really quick. Bottom left there's also some buildings in the back that we will need to tear down also.
So Laura, once the owner has passed away, what's the process involved then? We have to contact somebody from their estate?
We do look into, Patrick, you want to answer that?
That's part of one of the issues we were dealing with here is normally in the state of New Mexico to transfer ownership of real property, that ownership and transfer has to go through the probate process. There's no law that requires anyone to probate the decedent's estate, and so if you were a potential heir, you may look at this and say, I don't want to probate this and get anywhere near this, and so this one's going to present a little bit of a problem. Sometimes what will happen is we'll have the ability to advertise in the newspaper as far as notice for heirs or potential heirs. There may be some other documents in there. I know that we were contacted shortly after the owner's death that there may be some family members that were trying to acquire the property, and so we can follow some of those leads as well. But that one's going to present a little bit difficult of a problem because of the consideration with the owner. And as far as I'm aware, there's not been a probate filed, so we may have to either probate that ourselves, deal with that particular issue, or do some kind of alternative on notice.
All right, very good.
Well, I was gonna say, Will Payne, that was his uncle.
Correct.
Supposedly left to him, but Amy was in Portland.
Correct.
Ruby, I can't think of her last name. So neither one of them have any interest in that anymore?
The lady in Oregon, yes, Portland, Oregon, I've tried to contact her and she has not gotten back in touch with me. And Will has not come to see me. Maybe after this meeting he will.
It is an eyesore.
All right, any other questions? Comments? All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, resolution carries. Do we have another motion?
Make a motion, we consider resolution 2017-105, condemnation of property of 910 North 6th Street.
Seconded.
We have a second. Laura?
Mayor, Commissioner. 910 North 6th Street is, whoa, here we go. This property is located kind of in, right past the alleyway. It's kind of behind that two-story house. So I don't know if any of you have seen it. It's not too far from somebody's house. This is a property, a gentleman actually used to live here and he has since moved away. I have tried many times to try to contact him or his ex-wife and to find out what's going to happen with the property. Last I heard from them, they were looking for a vehicle that was at the property and they expressed no concerns on doing anything with the property. This one is, we have abated it in the past also with the weeds and everything. The house keeps getting broken into. I've had multiple calls with the house getting broken into and going through the back. When they board it up, then they tear it off. So it's kind of sits kind of by itself between houses. So it's kind of a great place for people to make problems. And it is definitely a health and safety issue. There's, debris everywhere. There's also some oil that's in there. Along with that, you can see they've boarded it back up, but that will be back down. In the back of the house, there are some open windows. That's some of the debris and the oil. There's tires. People are now, those tires were not there in the top right corner. They were not there. And they are now, somebody is starting to, sneak their way back there and put those tires back there and dump their tires there. Those are big 18-wheeler tires.
Is there any property inside the house where people keep breaking in, Laura, do you know?
Yes, there is. There are belongings inside the house. Yes, sir.
Okay.
The house has not been, the
Vacated?
stuff taken out. No, sir.
All right, very good. All right, any questions? All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries. Do we have another motion?
I make a motion we consider resolution 2017-106, condemnation of property southwest corner of Harrison Avenue and North Second Street.
I'll second that.
All right, Laura?
Mayor, Commissioners, this one does not have an address. It's located on a corner with another house. And so we want to make clear that it's only that one property that's up there in that corner that we're wanting to condemn. This structure has been vacant for a while, but recently, over the last year, the roof has collapsed. If you can see in that top left how the roof comes here and then it has actually collapsed. The windows are open. There's also right there on the porch, you can see how that's coming apart. This is the inside of the structure. And on that back side, on that bottom left, if you see that wall is bowing, so that wall could collapse at any given time.
All right, very good. Thank you, Laura. Any questions about that property, gentlemen? All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, resolution carries. Do we have another motion?
Make a motion to consider resolution 2017-107, condemnation of property 304 West Avenue F.
Second.
We have a second. Laura?
Mayor, Commissioners, 304 West Avenue F is another property that has been vacant for quite some time. Somebody is maintaining the lawn and cutting the weeds. However, the structure is still open to the public for anybody to get into. It has not been boarded up and kept safe. See, those are the outside walls of the house, in the front of the house.
Have you had luck in contacting those owners?
There we go.
Laura?
No, I have mailed out, all letters have been mailed out to every property prior to this meeting, and nobody at this point in time, as of today, has contacted me on any of these properties.
When did you mail those letters?
They were mailed out a week ago.
Okay. So still kind of early, right?
Are the owners out of town, or are they here? Are there some of them?
I believe the majority of them are out of town. We do have a couple that have like a P.O. box in Lovington, so we don't know where they're at this time.
Gone to the assessors and see where?
Yes, sir, that's how we get the information, and we send to the owner of record from the assessor's office.
All right. Any other questions, comments? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, resolution carries. Do we have another motion?
Make a motion we consider resolution 2017-108, condemnation of property 1111 West Jackson Avenue, excuse me.
I'll second that.
We have a second. Laura?
1111 West Jackson. Sorry, I'm not really good at this clicker. It's my first time. Be patient with me. 1111 West Jackson is also another house that had caught on fire. Inside there was a structural fire. I don't know how long ago. Don't have that for you.
And they're still living in that house, too.
I don't know if they're living in it, but they have been doing some kind of activities there in that house. But it's not, when I looked inside the structure, you could tell someone had redone the walls. They don't have permits for that, and that's going to pose to be an issue.
It's not so much that, it's a health hazard. Can you imagine all the rats and everything else live there, and then you
Correct.
live
The
right next
backyard
door
is
to
quite a
that?
mess.
Yeah, that's a health hazard.
There is no power to that place because Lee County cut it all loose. So it needs to be rewired too.
Correct.
All right, any other questions?
I was just gonna, I wanted to say, you know, all these are getting done, but is there any prioritization on which one worse to better or being tore down, the number one targeted one?
I think a lot of that's going to depend on if anybody calls and tries to make a game plan of getting it rectified and getting it torn down themselves, and on the asbestos testing, whether or not that comes back positive, hot or not. That's really going to, and we can keep you updated on how that's going if you'd like.
Yes, thank you, please.
All right, any other comments, questions? All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, resolution carries. All right, we have another motion.
I'll make a motion, we consider accounts payable.
Second that.
We have a second, Gary.
Your mayor and commission, our single largest expense, and this particular check run was an annual renewal of a membership that the library has for youth books. And that's that on the first page, the $3,797.40. But I am available for more questions if you have any.
Any questions from the commission? Any questions, Commissioner Butcher?
No.
Okay. All right, seeing as there are no questions, all in favor of paying accounts payable, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries. I'll entertain another motion.
Make a motion, we go into closed session pursuant to section 10-15-1 NMSA 1978, subsection H-8, regarding the purchase, acquisition, or disposition of real property of water rights, lease of city commercial property.
Second.
We have a second. Ms. Honor, roll call, please.
Commissioner Trujillo?
Yes.
Commissioner Sanchez?
Yes.
Commissioner Butcher?
Yes.
Commissioner Gandy?
Yes.
And Mayor Collins?
Yes, we will now go into closed session. Do we have a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to return to regular session, and the matters discussed in closed session were limited to those specified in the motion for closure, and no action was taken.
Second.
We have a second. On a roll call, please.
Commissioner Sanchez,
Yes.
Commissioner Butcher,
Yes.
Commissioner Trujillo,
Yes.
Commissioner Gandy,
Yes.
and Mayor Campbell.
Yes. And seeing as there's no further city business, do I have a motion to adjourn?